Hey everyone, this is Michael again and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. And tonight's Raw was from the Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And of course, this was Raw's go-home show for Elimination Chamber, which is this Sunday. And before I start the review, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded earlier today, I announced that I am going to WrestleMania Access on April 5th. And it's a Friday, and I'm going with my friend Greg. It's from I'm going to the 1 to 5 session access. Bought a general admission ticket, so check out previous video of that I uploaded earlier today. So on to Raw tonight. Well, another week, another shitty Raw it was. This was a god-awful show. Awful go-home show. But and then the one thing that that I didn't want to see in the end that they announced, and everybody's pissed off at this. So I'll explain to that when I talk about the end to Raw tonight. Well, no, this was a god-awful show. This was a god-awful Raw. Piece of shit show. So Raw opened up tonight with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H in the ring. Stephanie welcomes us to Raw. She says we are on the road to WrestleMania and Elimination Chamber. She says Elimination Chamber is this Sunday, and that they will make history Sunday with the Women's Tag Team Championships. And Triple H says Daniel Bryan will face his competitors in the Chamber. Sorry about that, but I was saying Triple H was saying that Daniel Bryan will face his competitors in the Chamber for the WWE Championship. And it's going to be Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton versus Samoa Joe. And apparently, Mustafa Ali has been removed from that match because of an injury that he has. So Mustafa Ali is not competing in that match. So then Stephanie says Ronda Rousey will face Ruby Riott this Sunday at Elimination Chamber for the Raw Women's Championship. And Triple H says if Ronda is able to win the match at Elimination Chamber, she will go on to face Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. And so Stephanie says they still are going to do what's best for business and give us what we want. And so Stephanie says Becky Lynch has seen the doctors last week, which she was going to explain, but Becky Lynch ends up coming out. Becky says it's nice to be here, and the swelling on Stephanie's face went down, which Triple H's face went down. got my notes mixed up here. But Triple H says to Becky that he wants to apologize because he didn't believe that Becky's injury was serious, and he ends up saying that the WWE medical staff said there is no tear or structural damage in her knee, and that the medical staff will clear Becky. So Triple H ends up lifting Becky's suspension and tells her that her match at WrestleMania against Ronda is on. And so Stephanie says the match will take place if Becky will do one thing. And that is, Triple H says to Becky that all she has to do is apologize to him and Stephanie. And Becky ends up telling Stephanie to shut her face and that she doesn't trust the McMahon family. And Becky ends up saying that the McMahon family have been screwing people for decades. So she is not apologizing. She says she's not apologizing. So Becky ends up saying to take the apology and shove it up their arse. And then we see Stephanie getting pissed. Her and Becky bicker. Triple H says that they both need to calm down. And Triple H ends up telling Becky, this isn't the hill that she wants to die on. And she needs to calm down and think clearly and put her pride behind her. And Triple H ends up saying to Becky, does she want to fight here, or does she want to fight at WrestleMania? To go on and fight for her dreams, to have everything she's ever fought for. Or does she want to throw it all away? And so Triple H ends up saying that he's given her a choice. But she has to come out here by the end. But Becky has to come out by the end of the night and say and tell him if she's going to fight Ronda and show the world that she's the man, or will she choose to throw it all away? And Triple H ends up saying, the choice is yours, to Becky. And so pretty much that's basically how the segment ended. But I thought it was a decent opening to Raw. I mean, it's Becky Lynch, a SmackDown women's superstar who's the hottest thing on the SmackDown women's division. So, I mean, it was a decent segment to open Raw, which I liked. And then, right from there, goes downhill. So we had a tag team, triple threat tag team match. It was Nia Jax and Tamina versus Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. These women who are going to be in the Elimination Chamber match, competing to be the first ever women's tag team champions, to win the first ever Raw Tag Team Championship. I mean, women's tag team championships. I'm sorry, but yeah. But this match itself, it was meh. It wasn't that great. The person who lost this match, they will get to. Well, the person who wins this match, they will get to be in the chamber match last. And so we had Sasha Banks was taken out. Sasha is working with an injury, from what I heard, and that's why Bayley's doing all the work in the match. Because Sasha was taken by officials to the back. And then we had Nia Jax and Tamina. They ended up winning the match. Nia ended up hitting the Samoan drop on Bayley to score the win. So Nia and Tamina, they get to enter the chamber match last. And Sasha and Bayley end up entering the chamber match first. So, but that was the match. All the match itself, it was meh. And the crowd tonight was this was a terrible crowd tonight. This was a cricket sounding crowd. And then you see like some of the people in the crowd. I saw some of the people in the crowd tonight while they were watching it. This was some who were sitting in the front on hard cam side. They were watching it, and then their reactions tonight were just sitting there like that. So then we had Elias out there. Boy, could this get any more boring? So Elias was there. We saw Becky Lynch on the Titantron. Finn Balor and Becky were backstage. Balor's up saying to Becky that he's not in her situation, but he knows a thing or two about being too proud for her own good. And Balor says he doesn't want Becky to let her pride get to her. He ends up telling Becky that it's better to wait and bide her time. And he ends up saying, the whole world is watching, and he's going to take Bobby Lashley's Intercontinental Championship. So Becky asks if Balor thinks that she should apologize. And he doesn't say, anything about that. He ends up saying that he's seen pride be the downfall of many men. And he doesn't want it to be the downfall of the man. And so Becky ends up saying, Becky ends up thanking Balor. She ends up telling Balor that his abs are awesome. Comments good on Balor's abs. And Balor just, goes away. So that was what happened backstage between Balor and Becky. Then Elias, of course, was still in the ring. Elias gets interrupted once again. And a Seth Rollins package is playing. And then we go back. And then Elias was still in the ring. And he was about to say, hello, I'm Elias. And then he gets interrupted by Lucha House Party. And then Raw goes to commercial. I'm like, wow. Is anybody in the WWE production truck, are they, is somebody in the WWE production truck drunk tonight by doing that? But as what it looks like, they were just, messing with Elias. And so then when Raw came back from the commercial, Elias was still in the ring. The Lucha House Party were still in the ring. Elias is pissed. And he says he is the biggest musical act on this planet. And he's been getting interrupted every time. He's been getting interrupted every time he comes out. He goes on to say that he's mad that his album was not nominated at the Grammys. And Kalisto says to Elias that the Lucha House Party loves entertaining the WWE Universe. And he goes on to say that the Lucha House Party, they want to walk with Elias. And so Elias sings, saying that he used to write songs for us, and he can't think of, anymore. So he ends up singing Trashes the Grand Rapids crowd. Pretty much that's basically all it was. I'm like, who gives a shit? And so he ends up asking the Lucha House Party what they think of what he just said. And so Lucha House Party ends up, not liking it, gives it a thumbs down. And Elias says, reps them out, saying, oh, you think you could do better. And so Lince Dorado responds, and then he ends up dancing. Grand Metalik says, oh, I could be better by singing. And Kalisto says he could play guitar better than Elias. And so Elias ends up giving Kalisto his seat, and tells him to show the world, that Kalisto could play better than Elias. And so Kalisto ends up playing the guitar, and Elias says, that was pretty good. And he ends up asking Kalisto if he wants to do a duet. So Kalisto agrees, and Elias gets his other guitar and hits it at Kalisto. And so Elias ends up running out of the ring, running to the back. Pretty much that was basically it. But it was a shit segment. It was a shitty segment, in my opinion. The crowd didn't really care for it. So, who gives a shit? Then we have Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. They end up making their way down. Then Raw went to commercial. Then Raw came back. And Finn Balor ended up coming out. Then Drew McIntyre. So we had a match. Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. Which, the match itself, it was meh. Didn't really care for it. You had Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush interfering at points, at a point in the match. Balor ended up kicking Lashley and Lio. But Balor ended up winning the match by disqualification because Bobby Lashley ends up pushing Balor off the top. Balor was going to go for, I guess, the coup de grace. And after the match, Bobby Lashley ended up being up on Balor. Kurt Angle then comes out, and Kurt Angle, man, he couldn't even run to the ring that fast here. And so he ends up suplexing Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. Then he puts Lio Rush in the ankle lock. Corbin comes from behind, comes from out of nowhere from behind, takes down Kurt Angle. All three of them beat up on him, beat up on Kurt Angle. Braun Strowman ends up coming out, and he goes after McIntyre and Lashley on the outside. And so Strowman gets into the ring. He's on the apron. Well, he's on the apron. He headbutts Corbin. And it looked like Strowman was going for the running power slam to Corbin, but McIntyre ended up saving Baron Corbin. And so this led to a 6-man tag team match with Finn Balor, Kurt Angle, Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley. And did we just see Kurt Angle, Strowman, and Corbin, and McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, last week? Didn't we see these competitors, last week in the main event, minus Finn Balor? Oh yeah, this match, it was a boring match. Kurt Angle hit a suplex to Drew McIntyre on the outside, which looked sloppy, and we saw like during the commercial break, which they showed McIntyre ended up hitting a Claymore kick to Strowman, and Strowman actually went into the crowd. Then we saw like Strowman ended up getting up that fast, because we all know Strowman. Strowman, doesn't stay down for too long, so he ended up getting up fast. Ended up doing his shoulder tackles on the outside. And originally, Lashley ended up hitting like a vertical, suplex to Balor, and Lashley ended up hitting Balor, but Balor got his foot on the ropes, and the referee, I think it was referee John Cone, he didn't see it, so he ended up, ending the match. And so another referee comes down, I think it was referee Chad Patton, he comes down, ends up saying that Balor's foot was on the ropes. And so they go to the ring announcer, and John Cone ends up restarting the match. So the match gets restarted. Then the match went from there. But the end of the match, Strowman ended up hitting the run-in power slam to Bobby Lashley. Ends up tagging in Finn Balor. Balor ends up hitting the coup de grace on Bobby Lashley to score the win. So Balor, Kurt Angle, and Braun Strowman win the match. So it was a terrible match, my opinion. Then we had Kevin Owens end up cutting a promo saying, he's been recovering from his knee injury, and he was in a bowling alley, with his family. So he says he's been recovering from his knee injury, and he looks really good. He lost a lot of weight because of that, because of the surgery that he had. And he says on his time off, he's been spending time with his family. He's been watching Raw and SmackDown every week. He ends up saying that it was rough for him. And he says he knows when he is coming back. And he ends up saying that the McMahons haven't told him if he's going to be on Raw or SmackDown. And, it shows Kevin Owens, bowling. So, but it was really good to see Kevin Owens again. Really, really happy to see that he lost, some weight. He looks good and in shape. So, it was cool to see Kevin Owens again. So then we had Charlie Caruso interviewing Becky Lynch. She doesn't, asking her if she doesn't apologize, what's going to happen. And Becky ends up telling Caruso that it's none of her business, and then just walks off. So then we had Ruby Riott versus Nikki Cross, which this match was meh, not that good. But the crowd, of course, here was dead for this match, and it showed like during the match in a box, Becky Lynch talking with Ronda Rousey. But Ruby Riott ended up winning the match. Ended up hitting the Riott kick to Nikki Cross. So, there you go. So, yeah. But all in all, boring match. Then we had Seth Rollins come out and says he was going to come out and talk about Brock Lesnar and WrestleMania. So he goes on to talk about the 12 months of his career. From running the gauntlet match, which was awesome last year. It was one of the best matches of Monday Night Raw last year with Seth Rollins. And he says he's going to he went to WrestleMania last year, win the Intercontinental Championship, defended it on Raw, and also all over the world. He ends up saying this was the year he felt like Seth frickin' Rollins, as he was talking about last year. He was talking about, last year. He says he rode the momentum all the way to the Royal Rumble, punching his ticket to WrestleMania. He says the next night, the bottom dropped out, thanks to Brock Lesnar and his 6 F5s. So Seth Rollins says he has some good news and bad news. He said the bad news is he took 6 F5s and he is in pain. He mentions the good news is he took 6 F5s and he was still here and standing. He ends up saying if he's standing, he can fight. If he can fight, he can stomp. And he can stomp Brock Lesnar. He says if WrestleMania is the last match of his career, and then he was going to say something, but he got interrupted by Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman says he has a WrestleMania surprise. And he's like, the reigning, defending, undisputed Universal Champion Brock Lesnar, which he says is not here. Of course, Brock Lesnar wasn't going to be here tonight. And Paul Heyman says he is here to educate Seth Rollins. He ends up calling Seth Rollins a great athlete, a WrestleMania main eventer, and the best he's seen in his life. And so Paul Heyman says Brock Lesnar is a beast. Yeah, he does those little grunts when he talks. Brock Lesnar is a beast. And he goes, he's a predator and a career killer and a sadistic with an unpredictable soul. And he says if he goes to WrestleMania, if Seth goes to WrestleMania, with it being the last match of Seth's career, he ends up saying that it will be a suicide career. So Paul Heyman says if Seth walks into WrestleMania and takes the Universal Championship from Brock Lesnar, he will be the architect of his own demise. And he says It's not a prediction. It's a spoiler. And so Seth says to Paul Heyman that he is right. And what he doesn't understand is that he doesn't care. He goes on to say Brock Lesnar has held the title hostage for 2 years and he can't stand it anymore. He says he will be the martyr at WrestleMania and sacrifice his body, his heart, and he'll sell his soul to the devil and burn in hell if it means winning the Universal Championship. And he goes on to say to Paul Heyman that that isn't a prediction. It's a spoiler. And so that's how the segment ended. But it is okay. It was an okay segment with Seth Rollins. And then Dean Ambrose music hits, and Seth was still in the ring. He was like, "Oh, Dean Ambrose is coming out," like that. What look on his face? And so Dean Ambrose ends up coming out. He and Seth are in the ring. Ambrose says to Seth, he's only got one thing to say, and that is to slay the beast. So I guess Dean Ambrose is now all of a sudden a babyface. So because they're doing this because he's leaving in April after WrestleMania. And then we had a rematch from last week. Dean Ambrose versus EC3. Which, of course, EC3, the crowd didn't react to him. They're like, oh, who is this EC3? You can tell by the crowd. They're like, who is this guy? He hasn't even said one word on the mic. So yeah, so this match itself, it was just the same as last week. Dean Ambrose ends up winning the match with the roll-up on EC3. WWE officially ruining EC3 by making him do all these poses and flexes. Unbelievable. So then after that, we had Alexa Bliss, which she encouraged Becky Lynch to not apologize. And Becky Lynch sees through Alexa's attempt to free up a title match at WrestleMania. And says if she apologizes, the only thing she's selling out is WrestleMania. And so that was it. That was the backstage segment with Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch. Then we had the Revival. Dash Wilder, Scott Dawson versus Chad Gable and Bobby Roode for the Raw Tag Team Championships. And this was a good match. I really enjoyed this match. This is how tag team matches should look like. Should look like. Just the Revival, they gave it all they got in this match, and Gable and Roode was decent, but both these guys, they put on a very entertaining, good match. And the Revival ended up getting the win. End up hitting the Shatter Machine on Chad Gable, pinned, and the Revival are now finally the Raw Tag Team Champions. I'm like, finally. But we all know why WWE did this. This is a way for WWE, to push the Revival and not make them make them unhappy, because the Revival have been unhappy with the position that they were put in, and they were attempting to leave. And AEW was thinking of them, signing them, but that was the only reason why they won the tag team championships, so that WWE would keep them, so they wouldn't leave, and so AEW wouldn't sign him. The AEW effect is felt right here, and that's why the Revival won the championships tonight. So WWE could keep them on board. So we had Charlie Caruso. She ended up interviewing Wilder and Dawson. Dawson says they are the best, tag team on the planet. And, they talk about how, getting to the tag team championships, was, their thing. And that's how basically, it was. That was the interview. And then we had Becky Lynch coming out. And then Stephanie McMahon and Triple H end up coming out. Stephanie says, it's been a long night for all of them. And asks if Becky's going to live her dream or not. And this is where, well, I'll get to that soon. And so she puts the match over again. And Becky Lynch pointedly, if she's going to throw her moment in history away. And Triple H ends up telling Becky, what she wants. And Becky says she still thinks the two of them want her nowhere near the match. She ends up saying that she doesn't trust the both of them. And she ends up saying, yes, she got angry when she thought her opportunity was being taken. And so Becky ends up apologizing. So she ends up not shaking Triple H's hand and says, now that that's out of the way, they have a deal, right? And she says, if anybody tries to steal her opportunity, they'll have the fight of their lives, and no one is taking that dream away from me. That's what Becky said. And so Triple H says he wouldn't have it any other way, and congratulates Becky. And so Becky and Triple H, they both shake hands. So Triple H and Stephanie leave, and Becky asks if that's it. Triple H says to her, that is it. And so Becky ends up calling out Ronda. She says the two of them are going to be in front of 70,000 people at MetLife Stadium. And so that's when Ronda's music ended up hitting. Ronda ends up coming out. And then out came Vince McMahon, which got cheers from the crowd. I don't know why. The crowds, whenever Vince comes out, they should be booing him because of this shitty product that he's behind, and making these terrible Raws. So Vince ends up saying before the both of them do anything silly, he wants to get something off his chest. He ends up saying that this could be one of the greatest main events of all time. And he thinks Becky, since Becky thinks she's bigger than WWE and that he doesn't like bad attitudes, he ends up saying that Becky is not the man. He's the man. And he goes on to say sometimes he has to make tough decisions. And so he makes one. And so this is where everybody got pissed off. All the people in the IWC, the Internet Wrestling community I've seen, they were all pissed off at this, and I knew this was coming, and I didn't want this. I didn't want to see this. He ends up saying Becky Lynch is suspended for 60 days. And he's like, he needs someone to take her place. Someone that has charisma and charm and knows their lane. And so he ends up bringing out Charlotte Flair. Yeah, we all knew Charlotte was going to be put into this. And so Vince ends up telling Ronda that Charlotte's going to beat her and introduces her as champion. So now, WWE, I didn't want them to do this. Pretty much they're going for that triple threat match at WrestleMania, where Becky is still going to be in the match, and probably WWE is going to pull a Daniel Bryan, like how Daniel Bryan had to fight his way into the main event of WrestleMania, where he ended up defeating, where he ended up in the main event at WrestleMania 30 and winning the WWE Championship. I sense that WWE is going to do the same thing with Becky Lynch. So, but I saw this coming. A lot of people are pissed off at this. I really wanted to see Becky and Ronda just one-on-one. But for somehow, WWE has to put their female Roman Reigns, Charlotte, into the situation. Like, how many opportunities have they given Charlotte? She doesn't need no more opportunities at a title shot. This could have been good. This could have been a good match between Becky and Ronda, but WWE has to fuck it up some way, somehow. So now they're going with this fucking triple threat, which nobody asked for. Nobody fucking asked for this. Man, I tell you, if they put the title on Charlotte at WrestleMania, oh my God. Nobody wants to see Charlotte with a title around her once again. I don't want to see it. I don't fucking want to see it. WWE is possibly going to do this and screw out Becky, but who knows? It could be, like I said, they could do with Daniel Bryan, and Becky could win the title at WrestleMania. So, yeah, so that was your Monday Night Raw. God-awful show. God-fucking-awful show. God-awful fucking go-home show also. There's no hype for Raw for the matches at Elimination Chamber. So, but yeah, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review, and definitely give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all tomorrow night with the SmackDown review. Hopefully it's a decent show. Hopefully SmackDown's go-home show delivers. So, until then, I'll see you all back here tomorrow night. Bye.